And you can hear me well and you can see me well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about this because to me, joy and the idea of joy and what we're going to see today, for me, encompasses a few things that I am constantly emphasizing, which is the movement of our mind, how our mind really works on all of this and in our life. You know, when we talk about humans, we talk about woman and man, and basically we call ourselves woman or man because the word man means mind. So we are mind entities. So I think that because this is a meditation seminar, when we talk about meditation, we are constantly talking about the mind. Meditation is at the core of the yoga practice. And when you see the yoga practice and how the yoga practice is defined by the father of yoga, Patanjali, which exists in this planet or was in this planet about 600 years before the Common Era. So it's about 2,600 years ago, right? 2,600 years ago, 2,600 years ago. He said in the first of the sutras, yoga chitta nidri nirodha. So yoga is the quieting of the mind into silence. So yoga is the quieting of the fluctuations of the mind into silence. So definitely what we are practicing when we practice yoga, which is meditation and the asana practice, this is what we as a community most of the time explore. Basically, we are constantly talking about the mind. The matter that when we do the asana practice, we use our body doesn't mean that the mind is not part of the process. I am constantly telling you, reminding you during the classes that basically what we are trying to do is to be present. I am not saying yoga is not a physical practice, but it's not a workout, it's a work-in. And I am constantly emphasizing that. So the idea of joy, I think that we together these concepts and I would like to explore it with you. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Good. So basically, I would like to talk about the journey, and the journey is the journey from pleasure to bliss. And in order to understand this, basically there is a map, and the map is based on these four states or these four experiences, which are pleasure, happiness, joy, and bliss. When we talk about pleasure, most of us, we really know what is pleasure because we go through in our life to a lot of pleasurable situations. So pleasure is something that we really understand. And then happiness is something that somehow we also understand. The interesting part about pleasure and happiness is that pleasure is something that we pursue, and happiness is something that happens. You can pursue happiness. I can ask you right now, okay, be happy now. And then you're going to say, what this guy is talking about? I can close my eyes and say, I'm going to be happy now. It's not going to happen. And I say this many times. You probably hear me to say this: happiness and happens have the same root, hap. Is that probably why they call it happiness, right? Because happiness happens. And then joy, the third state or experience I would like to talk today. Actually, the seminar was called Joy and a Step to Bliss. Is something that somehow most of us can say, yes, it's something that I experience. I can understand. I can understand the idea of joy, but it's not something that most of us live constantly in. And then bliss, I think that maybe I'm wrong. I am not saying that that's your case, but most of us were very far from being blissful. And that's why I would like to talk about this. It's not a philosophical journey. This is a personal journey. This is an experiential journey. And whether we walk it consciously or unconsciously, I think that most of the time we are very unconscious about this. This is the part that I would like to talk today. And I would like to start with Buddha. Buddha says something like this. Buddha say, there is bliss and there is, there is pleasure and there is bliss. And then he say, forego the first and then you will possess the second. And right there, I would like to stop and make sure that we understand, the word forego, because when I say this, actually to my partner the other day, she said, well, forego is in English a very strong word. It's something like, okay, forget about pleasure. And then if you forget about pleasure, then you are going to attain bliss. And sorry, I disagree with that. And I was looking for the definition of the word forego, and it says to do without or cease to hold. It's a big difference when we see forego as this kind of terminant thing, this, very defined thing. Okay, you cannot have this if you won't have that. I think that this is part of our Judeo-Christian mind. We're going to talk about this, not the Judeo-Christian mind, but we're going to talk about the mind, the conceptual mind. I think that that's coming from that place. So I don't want to send you a wrong message about all this talking, because I am not talking about forget about pleasure if you want to attain bliss, if you want to possess bliss. But we're going to talk about that. I wanted to stop there when I say this, that Buddha said a long time ago. I think that one of the big problems when we talk about these things are the teachers. I always bring this up because he was very sarcastic, but he was an amazing teacher, David Simon, and he said the least flexible people I ever met were yogis. And I think that when we say quotes, or we quote phrases like this, there is pleasure and there is bliss, forego the first, then possess the second, then we get very rigid, very strict, and that's not the case. And I would like to use the word forego in any case when I say this, about to hold on something. And we are experts holding on things. But the problem with pleasure is that it's temporary. Pleasure is temporary. We can keep holding on pleasure because it has an end. It starts and it ends. So I think that when Buddha refers to this, what he's saying us is like, hey, if you're going to spend your entire life based on pleasure, then it's going to be very difficult for you to understand what bliss is. So let's analyze one by one, and then we go from there. So to begin with, pleasure is at the surface level. That's how it is. Pleasure, I would like to, I see this map from the surface level to the center, because if I could see this idea of pleasure, happiness, joy, and bliss, I see pleasure here in the surface and bliss here in the center of our being, because it's our inner nature. I will go there. But let's start from the surface to the center. Pleasure is in a surface level. Pleasure is momentary. Pleasure is related to time. It has a beginning, it has an end. And also is dependent on external conditions, for example, food, for example, sensations, for example, achievements. This is how we experience pleasure. Then again, pleasure is not bad, but it's limited. And that's the point I would like to emphasize. Like, I think that when we understand the limitations of pleasure, then we can then move towards a different experience. I would say this: it's like when we eat sugar, right? So we have this moment of pleasure. Like sometimes, we are crying almost every day, or every 2 days, or every 3 days. I don't know how is your relationship with sugar, but once in a while we need something sweet in our mouth in order to experience that sort of feeling good. That's a very good definition of pleasure. It's very limited, it's very temporary, it's depending on external conditions. That would be pleasure. Then the second path in this journey, in this path, the second state in this path would be happiness. And again, happiness happens. So still, it's a little bit more, I would say, subtle than pleasure. Happiness contains pleasure. This is something that somehow embrace it. And it's more psychological than physical, right? Happiness is more at the level of the mind, and also is, I would say, still as pleasure is limited, I think that happiness is dependent on circumstances. You can be happy, or you are happy when suddenly something works out. We are happy because I've seen really, I was working on this project, and then I went through the project and everything worked well. And then we feel, oh yeah, I feel happy. I feel kind of encouraged by this. I feel happy. The problem with happiness is that it can be taken away, because, I just love this job, and then suddenly I don't have the job, and then it's taken away. So being dependent on the circumstances make it temporary too. I think that somehow in this map, in these 4 states, on these 4 ideas, or these 4 concepts, pleasure and happiness are part of the first group. And the second group would be joy, which is in a deeper level, and also bliss. So let's move towards joy. When I talk about joy, I think that most of us have the opportunity to feel joyful in our life. And I think that most of us also understand that joy is like an inner force. Joy is not like happiness. It's something that is existential. It's not emotional. Makes sense? When I say it's existential, it's not emotional, because joy is something that somehow arises when we are present. Joy is something that somehow arises when we stop resisting, when we feel aligned, when we feel in harmony, when suddenly we feel grateful without any reason. How many times it happens that suddenly you feel kind of less like a feel grateful, and you say, I don't even know why I feel like this. I don't have a particular reason to feel like this. So joy arises naturally. It's something, I would say, I believe is coming from within. And that's what I separate pleasure and happiness, because pleasure and happiness somehow are temporary and dependent on circumstances. Joy is something that arises from within. And constantly in our journey into meditation, what we are doing is basically going through this map. We are going from the exterior to the interior. We are going from the outer to the inner. And I think that that's what I wanted to bring this up in the sort of map. I was talking with my brother yesterday. I think that maps are very important because they give us sort of the path through which we can go. I was talking with my brother yesterday, and then he was reminding me, he went to visit in Italy. He lives in Europe, he lives in Spain, so he went to visit the town in which my grandfather was born in Italy. It's called Colobraro. It's very in the south of Italy. And then he went like 25 years ago. There were no GPS. And then suddenly he finds himself in the middle of a gas station in nowhere in Italy, completely lost, with a map, and trying to speak with an Italian guy in a language that he didn't handle well, where the town was in the map, and then even being able to follow through the map and follow the roads and go through, So maps are, I think, a very important for us. Now we have GPS, but the idea of the map is, well, if we can see intellectually these things, then somehow we have a better idea on how to handle these things in an experiential way. So, what is bliss? To me, experiencing bliss firsthand is when I see a baby. When I see a baby and that smile, when I see those eyes that are looking everywhere and nowhere at the same time, this is the moment in which I say, oh, this is bliss. Mm-hmm. Bliss is obviously not related to time. Bliss is obviously something that comes and goes. Bliss is something that happens or is revealed more than happens. Sorry, happen is the wrong word. Is revealed when everything else falls away, when there is nothing, all this construction that we somehow so um, thoughtfully, so forcefully build around and through our life suddenly falls away. And then we somehow are connected with our real nature, and we somehow understand the real nature of our existence. So, why then we are not very happy, and joy is something that somehow comes, in very little um, um, moments of our life, and then bliss we don't even know how to spell it. What's the problem here? And I think that the problem here are two. I see two big things in here. The first thing that I see when I talk about this is grasping. I think that as soon as we wake up in the morning, the first thing that we do is to grasp. We are constantly grasping from the moment we wake up. We are grasping about everything. And grasping, again, there is a problem here with the word, because when we say grasping, it seems like it's greedy, right? When we grasp, it's like a greedy thing. But grasping could be subtle. We can grasp for a better version of ourselves. We can say that grasping for a better version of ourselves is not something that you want to do, but somehow we grasp for it. We grasp for approval. We grasp for security. We grasp for spiritual experiences. We grasp for relationship. We grasp for jobs or titles. So we I see grasping like a disease. This is how I see grasping. Grasping is like a disease. It's something that we are constantly doing since we wake up in the morning, and it becomes an invisible habit. And it's what is keeping us away from the possibility of joy, the possibility of bliss. And again, I've been talking about words today because I think that because the second problem I think we have, the conceptual mind, is that we just keep looking at words and we have a definition of the word, and then when we say the word, then immediately we already know what we are talking about. But think about grabbing and grasping. Both have the same root, grab, right? Grabbing and grasping, right? And then grabbing is at the physical level, holds physically. Grasping holds mentally. Make sense? So grasping is an illusion. Sorry, I forgot to close the door. And family members are coming, and I start listening to their voices. So grasping is an illusion. That's basically what I want to say. And grasping is an illusion because we all know this path. When this happens, then I'm going to be happy. When I found this city, this relationship, this teacher, this wisdom, I'm going to, life is going to be different. When I found, and then it's always, we're always going for this. And of course, it comes and goes, and we are there. And the problem with this is that we nourish this constantly because it's something that we are doing constantly, and I feel it like it's like a disease. And why this is happening, I think, is because of the second problem. The second problem we have is this conceptual mind. We have a conceptual mind. And here I will tell you something that I heard that I think that define perfectly the idea of the conceptual mind. When you tell a kid, listen carefully to this, when you tell a kid the name of the bird, the kid stops seeing the bird. Instead to see the bird, the kids see the concept of the bird. I'm going to repeat it. When we tell a kid, from the moment in which we tell a kid the name of the bird, the kid stops seeing the bird. And this is a big truth. There is a profound truth behind this quote. And our conceptual mind, what it does basically is label everything. We label everything. This is bad, and this is good. This is who I am. This is who you are. This is how life is, and this is how life should be. And then we miss the opportunity of experience what we have in front of us, because we are not seeing what we have in front of us. We are seeing what we believe is what we have in front of us. So we are not longer meeting life directly. We are meeting our concepts, the concept of our life. We think that we know the other person. What we are seeing is my idea of the other person. We think that we know ourselves. What we are seeing is our own story, our conditioning, our self-image, but we are not having the capability to see ourselves because we are holding on this conceptual mind. And then I think that the problem with this is certainty, because over the years we become very certain, and certainty is a tragedy, because as soon as the mind becomes certain, what happens is that the mind stops seeing. The mind just basically hold on the concept. See, those are the two things that I believe are basically not allowing ourselves to move into places of joy or move into places of bliss. So finally, think about this. We came to this planet empty hands, and we are going to leave this planet empty hands. So what is the purpose of grasping? Why we are constantly grasping? Why we are constantly believing that behind that sort of habit that we already developed, things are going to be better? No. So I think that we need to understand basically that, and that's what basically meditation gives us, is that there is nothing to grasp. There is nothing to grasp. There is just whatever it is that is real, whatever it is that really is important is within us. Is something that we have it within. And the only thing that we can do about it is to remember it. You remember that during the retreat in Mexico, we were talking about remembering. The entire idea of the retreat in Mexico was remembering who you are, because it's not something that we are going to create. It's something that is already there. We just need to remember it. That's all. So how we put this together? Well, don't to begin with, let's not take this seriously. Tell a 20 years old college student to forget about sex and to try bliss instead, right? So it's not going to happen. So let's be honest about how we embrace our life and how we embrace all these problems, and then from there we go. I think that if we think about pleasure, we see pleasure as outer stimulation. So pleasure is outer stimulation. Pleasure is something that makes us feel good. Thumbs up. Okay, now that he's saying don't experience this is the experiences we have. If we are able to understand the experiences that we are going through, then we are going to be able to go through this in a different way. Happiness to me is basically related to outer conditions. So my life is going well, right? So that's happiness. And joy is related to inner alignment. I think that when we are experiencing joy is because we are aligned as beings. I am at peace regardless. Doesn't matter what's going on. I am at peace because what's going on is going to keep going on. And I have no power to change it. It's what it is. So I am at peace. I am good regardless what's going on. And then bliss is basically I am when we are able to be, which is the most difficult I would say goal for a human being to be. Uh, Imagine if I at this moment say, okay, just be. We don't even know what that means. Mhm. So, and I think that that's basically why we meditate, because in this sort of war in which we live, that we are going through many different circumstances in our life, the idea of find a place within that that can hold us is very is a very interesting idea, and I think that that's why meditation is so important. So I think that I would like to do sort of a meditation about this and kind of explore about this. And then if you have any questions, we go. Let's do it the other way around. Do you have any questions about all what I said at this moment? No questions? Good. So let's do a meditation though. So we can at least explore in our own all these things that has been said. Close your eyes. And as you close your eyes, start connecting with the physical sensations you're having. And think about your skin and all the physical sensations your skin is having. Connect with your body against the chair in which you are. See. Relax your legs. Relax your torso. Relax your chest. Relax your shoulders, your arms, your hands. Keep embracing the perceptions you're having at the surface level, at the level of your skin. Now slowly start shifting your attention within, connecting with your breathing, feeling how the air goes in and feeling how the air goes out. And then as you relax your body and you connect with your breathing, gently start shifting your attention a little bit deeper towards your heart and then connect with your heart. And then see what your heart is trying to tell you. See how it feels to connect with your heart. And now having your attention within your heart, and repeat these affirmations. I am at peace. I am centered. I am aligned. I am. I am at peace. I am centered. I am aligned. I am. And then, in connection with your heart, if you want, keep repeating this mantra. I am. I am. Remember that the repetition of the mantra is gentle and relaxed. You want to focus, you don't want to concentrate. You just want to repeat the mantra. Enjoy your meditation. I am. I am. Just stop the repetition of your mantra. Continue with your eyes softly closed. And then when you feel ready, gently open your eyes. So let's recap a little bit. So we say that pleasure is temporary. We say that happiness is conditional. We say that joy is inner, and we say that bliss is our nature. That's the path. That's the map. Mm. From temporary to conditional, from conditional to inner, and from inner to our real nature. And I think that every time that we go into meditation, and I always emphasize the idea of meditation through the five doorways, right? Going from the breathing to the body to the heart to the mind to the soul. Um, this sort of outer inner journey. Mm? And I think that meditation is based on that. And I think that this map about joy as a step to understand bliss is based on that. So the journey is not to reject at any moment pleasure. I am not saying don't or happiness, of course. Don't. I am not saying don't drink your glass of wine. I'm saying don't have your chocolate when you want it. Um, the importance of this is understand the limit of that search, the limit of those actions, and the idea that we can move deeper, and the idea that life is not just based on these little acts, even not even about happiness, but it's about moving deeper into our real nature. I would say from the surface to the center. That's basically it. From the outer to the inner, from the grasping to the being, from the noise to the peace, and from what is it that I want from I am, or to I am, not from. So that's what I have for you today. Um, I will keep thinking about this. I think that there is uh, a few concepts to explore. I think that the idea of grasping, I think that the idea of certainty, I think the idea of the conceptual mind is something that we all should continue exploring and understanding how we deal with this, because this is something that we already have done. It's not something that is not happening. This is how it is. I mean, we were educated this way, and we're doing our best with that. And meditation can be very helpful. I don't know if you have any questions. I don't know if you have any questions about meditation. How is your meditation practice? Any questions about how to get better at it? Or I don't know. If you have any questions, I would be more than happy to answer those. No questions? All right. Well, this is it. I wish you a beautiful December. It's a holiday season. I love the holiday season. I think that it's a moment that help us to reflect. It's also the end of the year. Also, we are all thinking about what has happened during this year and what will happen next year. It's an interesting moment, so enjoy it. And thank you for your time. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.